Bryson on the way to the LIV Golf Series. Eamon, what's happened here? I want to ask you the same question I asked Rex. I mean, Bryson was gone, he was here. Why now? Why is he, in your mind, going to LIV Golf?
Well, this is what charlatans do. They dress up this kind of stuff in guff about being innovators or growing the game. And, you know, they're the kind of people who would frankly chop down a tree and then mount the stump and give a speech about conservation. It's commerce without any kind of conscience. And frankly, it's commerce without any kind of honesty. Either 6 days ago, Bryson said that this would be too much of a risk for his career.
Yes.
That was a lie. It was clearly a lie 6 days ago. 3 months ago, he said it was, as long as the best players in the world were going to be on the PGA Tour, that he would too. Well, unless Chase Koepka and Andy Ogletree now qualify as the best players in the world, those players are still on the PGA Tour. And, you know, it's money. It's a naked money grab being dressed up as something more noble or something more forward-thinking, and it's nothing of the kind. It's pure naked greed.
It's also this drip, drip, drip of names. Why do you think it's unfolding the way it's unfolding? You know, it's DJ one day, it's Phil Mickelson one day, it's rumors about Patrick Reed, Ricky Fowler, we don't know. Yeah. Bryson DeChambeau, now we do know. Why is it unfolding this way?
I think there's a staggered strategy here, Damon. I mean, when the Saudis announced the first part of the field last week for London, it's a field of 48. They announced 42 names. Now, we knew 5 were coming from a different Asian Tour qualifying event, so that left 1 name. That name turned out to be Phil Mickelson, which could have been announced last week because everyone has known that Phil was going to play that event and that Phil was allied with the LIV Golf Tour. It was delayed a week to create this simulated momentum. And they'll do the same this week with Bryson. Presumably, there will be other names that will come out before Portland to create this idea that there's a cascading narrative in their favour. And it's questionable whether or not there is, because the names we're hearing are the names who were always in. There are no new shocks here. And it's the same group of people who you could kind of question their competitive relevance right now. For all we know, Bryson's career could be on a downslide given the injuries that he's currently facing and has faced over the last few months. Patrick Reed hasn't been competitively relevant in a couple of years either. The names aren't particularly surprising, but there is a strategy behind the frequency with which they're being announced to try to create this idea that there is a narrative. Because if they actually announced all of these names at one time, it's a relatively unimpressive group of people. You're not talking about the top 10 players in the world going anywhere here. But if they do this kind of drip, drip, torturous release every week, then it creates the idea that there is momentum, which may be overstating it a little.
They do have players of various ages, though. Players at the beginning of their career, in their 20s. Players at the end of their career, in their 40s and 50s. Is there a unifying characteristic of these players? Some of them, I'll call them flawed champions, for lack of a better term. Maybe players who have struggled with their short game, players who don't think they're going to win on the PGA Tour anymore, players who have battled the media, players who maybe have had some questionable moments. You know, Phil Mickelson talking about his gambling issues, very public in a conversation with Bob Herrig of Sports Illustrated.
There are 2 unifying characteristics here, I think, in the field. The competitive relevance is one. These aren't guys who are challenging for tournaments all the time. The greatest claim to competitive relevancy is probably Dustin Johnson. He hasn't really contended in almost 2 years since he won the Masters, is clearly on the downslope at the end of his career. And the other thing that they share in common is shamelessness. I mean, the Washington Post reported 4 days ago that Saudi targeted strikes on civilians in Yemen have killed 24,000 people. And Graham McDowell sits there yesterday in London and says, we're proud to help them on their journey. You really don't get much more shameless than that.
Do you think that the players are, you know, Taylor Gooch saying, I'm just a golfer? Would they have a little more respect if they just said, you know what? This is about the cash. Well, and this is about the money.
In Taylor Gooch's defense, he said he was too stupid to understand human rights, which might be the closest thing to a truth that was actually uttered at the LIV Golf event. I mean, the prevarications become embarrassing because it's very hard to come up with a good response to questions about why you're being paid and employed by people who bonesaw their critics. Because there is no good answer to those questions. And the questions will keep coming. And the embarrassment will keep coming for the players who go down this road. But they're just kind of hoping to normalize it over time, that people will kind of forget what they're doing and why they're doing it.
I keep remember a conversation I had with Mike Shy, who's a part of Bryson DeChambeau's upbringing as a coach. When he won the U.S. Open, I said, Mike, what's important to Bryson? And he said that U.S. Open at Winged Foot meant everything. He wants to win the Masters desperately, loves competing and winning Jack's tournament, the Memorial, Arnold Palmer Invitational. It was the Invitationals on the PGA Tour and the majors. To hear that he's going to compete in Portland opposite a PGA Tour event in the United States of America, I guess my question is, where is this headed?
It's headed to... There are three different fronts in this war, ultimately. The courtroom, which is probably where we get to first, as they litigate the right of the PGA Tour or players to determine their own schedules. It will end up with the World Golf Rankings, which does not acknowledge or count every tour and does not count 54-hole events. Otherwise, Bernhard Langer would be the #1 player in the world. And these events need that kind of ranking point status to keep its LIV Golf members in the frame for eligibility for major championships. And finally, it's going to end up at the door of Fred Ridley at Augusta National. The majors are where the front line is going to end up here, because these guys are convinced and have been told by LIV Golf repeatedly, you can play these legacy events, the major championships, and get the guaranteed money from LIV Golf at the same time. That's very much up in the air at this point. Now, the timing of it right now doesn't say a lot. You know, the USGA and the R&A both run open championships.
Right.
The criteria by which they enter the Masters and the PGA Championship is a little bit more restrictive. And those two majors are run by two men who've been pretty vocal in their support of the existing ecosystem in golf. But both Seth Waugh and Fred Ridley know that this can is ultimately going to be kicked down the road to their door, and they're going to face some tough decisions down the road too.
You used the term drip, drip, so did I. Do they have momentum? Does LIV Golf have momentum the way they are announcing these players? And you can say the fields are weak, which they are, but Phil Mickelson is a big name, and Bryson DeChambeau is a big name, and Sergio Garcia and Lee Westwood and Ian Poulter are names that people who love golf know.
Sure, they have momentum in their ability to make announcements.
Okay.
They don't have momentum in being able to announce players who are relevant. And to me, that's the key. But they don't care about what the product is at the end, nor do the players, frankly, care what the product is. I mean, they're talking about being innovators and this kind of progressive format. It's all nonsense. They
54 holes, shotgun start, no cuts. I mean,
it's like a
don't tell me
member,
you're seeking. This isn't TPC Sawgrass on Sunday with Tommy Roy's cameras pointing at you in the crowd waiting to see what you're going to do at 17. Just say what it is. This is about the money. This is a late career or early career, if you don't think you have what it takes to compete with the best in the world. Money grab. Just being, it's naked. It's pretty clear. This isn't about growing the game.
But they can't be honest about that, because to be honest about that requires acknowledging that it is a sports washing enterprise. It's throwing money at golf. It's hijacking professional golf, allowing this sport to be owned by MBS for the purposes of laundering their human rights abuses. And none of them have the courage to sit there on that day as yesterday in London or today and say what it is. So they dress it up in this nonsense about growing the game, but they ultimately don't care what the product is. And there's no fan audience for it. I mean, it's been given away on YouTube. There's not an audience for it. There's not an audience appetite for it. And there's no honesty or courage among the players in at least being honest about why they're doing it and what the end game is.